Fellow Nigerians, I am particularly disturbed by the images and scenes coming out of Benue State in recent time, where over 100 persons were killed in one fuel swoop by felons who do not have a place in our society. It is particularly disturbing that a man would go out and return to his home to meet the lifeless bodies of his wife and children in the streets or on the streets. Yet, we do not seem to have an iota of idea on how we can address this ugly sin. This, what played out recently, has been in the brew for a long time. It has been in the brewing for a long time. Before now, we've had several cases of attacks, pocket of attacks here and there reported across the country. And we waited until over 100 persons were killed before we are now reacting in the way we have done. In fact, it is until over 100 persons have been killed before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu decided to visit the scene of attacks over the country for the first time. While I do not count much on his visit, it is important for us to state that we, beyond mere statements, beyond mere visits, that we should be proactive in our approach to address insecurity. And for over the years, right from the time Amotoko Bill was initiated, that should be around 2020 in the National Assembly, I have always advocated that the only path to guaranteeing insecurity in Nigeria would be dealing with the issues of proliferation of arms. And the government needs to be quite ingenious in coming up with ideas to make sure that our strategy towards insecurity in Nigeria must be proactive, because these reactive measures we adopt would only leave scores of Nigerians in pains. I will tell you clearly, many people of Benue State would rather prefer to have their loved ones go about their businesses on a daily basis without fear of being intimidated or being maimed like we have seen, than the president visiting them to pay condolence visits to them. The most troubling part of what is going on is, despite the height of insecurity in Nigeria, we seem not to have any idea whatsoever on dealing with the issues. Now, how did we get here in the first instance? What we are seeing today, the killings, the poor economy, the poor health infrastructure, the number of school children number of kids out of school, culminate to our decisions as a people. We cannot leave the buck at the desk of the president. Whatever that is going on in Nigeria, we must take a portion of the blame that we have contributed to the mess that we are in today. Every Nigerian who have made a decision at during the elections, have in a way, one way or another, contributed to the mess we are today. And the only way we can address issues like this would be each and every one of us having the courage to do what is right. Otherwise, we are just joking that the Messiah will come from nowhere to fix these problems. If we do not vote, if we do not elect leaders according to their plans to address issues, I mean convincing plans, if we do not interrogate the strategies of these leaders, the so-called leaders who show up for elections, every 4 years, if we do not interrogate their ideas critically to say we have issues of insecurity, we have issues of stagnating economy. How exactly, what are your plans to address these issues? If we do not interrogate and feel satisfied that these plans would address our collective welfare or our collective interest, then we are not making progress. So the president would visit Benue State on Wednesday, which should be on the 17th of June. But what happens after his visit? Beyond his visit, beyond his statements, what are those clear strategies that he wishes to adopt to ensure that issues like this do not happen again? A journalist tweeted and recently was saying that he hopes that such issue will not happen in no time. But that is no strategy, no idea whatsoever, on dealing with issues of insecurity in Nigeria. More than anything else, before I end this short commentary, more than anything else, we must note that whereas we have contributed to the mess we find ourselves today, especially a situation where learned professors, trained professors would rig for, candidates with mere school certificates. It's an appalling situation, and we have contributed to this height of society degradation. But beyond that, we must know that the president alone cannot solve the problem. We must hold the men in the National Assembly also accountable. They should be ingenious enough to also, not just ingenious, they should be bold enough to come up with electoral bills and acts that would actually address issues of insecurity. I believe that the most important policies that would actually have to deal with insecurity would have to go through the National Assembly. So we must not always wait for the president to initiate ideas. And those in the National Assembly must be open to receiving ideas from young men and women of goodwill who have chipped in their little thought process in addressing issues that we're faced with. I see a lot of advocacy, regarding electoral reforms. I see a lot of advocacy, different groups, different society organizations, civil society organizations, individuals making their own little impact to ensure that we have an electoral process that is free, fair, and credible. But most of these would have to go through the National Assembly. This is an issue I would hope to address some other time, especially the electoral reform. Thank you so much. I'm Francis Onyema, 2027 presidential aspirant.